very much. And I can see you as well. Awesome. Thank you. I think with this, we are good to kickstart the program. Firstly, let me welcome all the students who have already joined the call. This is a webinar, so you would not be having options to talk or to share your video. However, the chat feature should be allowed for all of you. So during the call, please feel free to send in messages on the chat in case you have any questions or concerns. Again, you cannot name your available during the whole call, so you can feel free to pin the sign language interpreter who's under the name of Zablon Kengara to your screen so that you can see him in an extended view. Also, please note down all the questions that you might have. So during the call, you can post your questions on the chat. If you can also write your questions on the notebook and share them on a forum that I'm going to share on a link with. If you have gotten our email on attending this call, you would also know that there is a discussion forum that's already enabled for you, so you can head on there and start asking your questions after the call, and the panelists would look at the questions and respond in their own time. Now, with Steve. Steve, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. You are breaking up for some seconds. I hope internet is stable now.
Yes. Please go ahead with your opening remarks.
So thank you everyone for joining this call. My name is Steve Njenga. I am working for Light for the World in the Nairobi office as the country director. And it's my pleasure to be providing opening remarks once again to this session. We have been doing this kind of sessions in the EmployAble program. And I'm happy also now that we were doing a bit of evaluations and talking to the students and hearing how these kind of sessions have impacted them. In this Light for the World in the Kenya office focuses on economically empowering persons with disabilities through different initiatives. And within these initiatives is where we have several programs around building capacity of entrepreneurs with disability to scale their businesses, to advocate for their rights, and to find more opportunities in the marketplace. And while doing this, we found a gap around students not being able to find employment or being deficient of skills that will empower them to get through employment. Very happy for the support from Standard Chartered. Creation of this program, the EmployAble program, which is really aimed at addressing the barriers to inclusion of youth in gainful employment. And the EmployAble program is designed in a manner that it takes students through a series of technical skills and training. And this is about CV writing, is about how to find work, how to create a profile online, how to attract potential employers, how to even attend an interview, and how to even manage an online profile. We know that we are in the digital era now, and everything is digitized. So even looking into the future of careers, because we know that I think there was an article that I was reading the other day that is saying that 63% of jobs in the future, and we are talking about future of at least 30 years from now, the young children entering into primary school will be working for jobs that are not even created yet, which means that even the youth that are currently getting out of college that we've been supporting, there is going to be so much change in the cycle of their employment that they need to think of how to adopt to the future and how to adopt their skills and their career. So this is how the program has been working through this provision of technical skills. But in addition to that is a lot about exposure to mentors. And we have been having sessions where mentors will come and give talks similar like we're having today. And we are not able to do it online, we do it physically, where students will visit institutions and do what we call job shadowing. So listen to professionals in their field explaining what it is that they do, explaining their journey, explaining their learning process, explaining how they changed and how they have metamorphosized through their career. Somebody who started as a medical doctor and ended up as an entrepreneur or as a farmer, what their journey was, and what skills they needed to adopt along the way. And other than job shadowing, is also providing internships. We've managed so far to link at least 86 students to internship out of the total reach of 4,800 students who have been following keenly on what this program is doing. So this program, based on our assessment and based on the feedback that we have received from students, has also helped institutions, 5 universities that we've been working with. That is JKUAT, USIU, KU, Multimedia, and Zetech, to adopt or to start understanding better how to be inclusive to students with disabilities. Because in overall, there is a very, very small number of students with disabilities in these universities. And it's not by design, but it's just that these institutions have a long way to go in being inclusive or being specifically targeting students with disabilities. And through this program, we have seen some of these universities even set up directorates of support services for students with disabilities and being more deliberate in targeting students to come in and join them with disabilities, and not traditionally we have seen students being sent to KU and being told, you go to KU. That's where they support more students who want to enroll into the university. We don't have the infrastructure as a university to support you and make reasonable accommodation for you and your type of a disability. But through this kind of increasing confidence in disability, we have seen universities being deliberate, investing time and budget and allocating staff to say we want to be specifically reaching out to students coming in, and we want to be more aware of the needs that we need to provide to be able to make the learning process for the students in these universities a smooth process. So thank you so much again for joining this call. We will be listening to a lot of wisdom from the team that will be talking in the panel, and keep questions coming in the chat. More than happy to respond to it. Thank you all.
Thank you, Steve, for the quick remarks. I'm actually super excited to kickstart this call. There is a wonderful group of people here from the Standard Chartered Bank leadership team, most of whom are heading departments for Kenya, East Africa, or some even to the whole continent of Africa and Middle East. So without further ado, I would want to give as much time to the panelists as possible. So I'm going to keep my talking less. I would want to introduce Ms. Macabello. Just one thing that I want to say about you before you kickstart is I love how much you've traveled already. I could see in your bio that you have traveled through Central and East Europe and Middle East and Pakistan and Africa. So my question to you revolves around that. Having been traveling so much, how did it help in building your career, and what are a few lessons that you've picked out through your travels to different countries?
Thank you, Val, for that, and good afternoon / good evening to everyone who's on the call today. I'm really delighted to be here talking to you. You actually bring back memories of when I was at this particular stage of my life, which seems like so long time ago right now. And, you know, I really admire the work that Light for the World is doing as well. I think these are some of the important interventions that we have to put in place to make sure that we're all set up to succeed. So just in terms of giving a quick introduction before I respond to Val's question. So my name is Makabelo Malumani, and I am at StanChart responsible for the transaction banking business in Kenya and East Africa. And in terms of my experience, I did qualify in the information technology space, specializing in computer science and psychology. But I have to tell you that today, the job that I do is not necessarily in that space. We do leverage on technology a lot in what I do today. But I just wanted to put it out there that, you know, it's not necessarily what you study that gets you to where you need to be. And that's what my travels have taught me. And first, it starts with your mindset. That is the very bare minimum that sets you up for that success in my personal experience. And what do I mean about mindset, right? Our mindset in simple terms has to do with what we see, what we believe in, what we think about the world, and how that then influences how we operate, right? And that changes depending on your life experiences, where you are. It could be the stage of your life at a particular point in time. But I've found that keeping an open mindset right from the beginning really sets you up for success. And indulge me and allow me to just elaborate a little bit on this. A lot of you might have read a little bit about the fixed mindset versus the growth mindset. And there's a quote that I really like, which talks about that mindset and how it influences how you then get to operate as a person in your life. And the quote says, if you imagine less, then less will undoubtedly be what is given to you or what you deserve, right? So that's why, for me, that is a really powerful lesson when it comes to our mindsets. What do you think of yourself? What do you think you deserve, right? Are you limited by your background? Are you limited by where you grew up? Are you limited by the status of your overall family? And you know, to bring it closer to home, maybe let me share a little bit about myself. So I did move from South Africa. That's where I am originally from. And I moved for a role that was in the United Kingdom, so specifically based in London. And that's where I would say things started opening up for me. That's where I got to be responsible for markets in Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. And I can tell you that when I took on that job, it's not because I knew exactly what I would be doing, but I was bold enough to ask anyway. And that's one of the things that I'd like you to encourage to do. Ask for what you want and let people know, be bold about it, because nobody's going to imagine what your aspirations are, right? Nobody's going to think, you know, let me do this for Makabelo because one day I know that she wants to travel the world or she wants to get exposure in different markets. So you have to be bold about it. You have to know what you want, and you have to ask for it. Now, just because you've asked, it doesn't mean that it will automatically happen as well. You have to prove yourself. And this is where the growth mindset comes in. For me, the growth mindset essentially says, I am eager to learn, right? I will learn whatever it is. It doesn't have to be aligned to my current job. It doesn't have to be aligned to the spaces that confine me today, but I will expose my mind. I will open up my mind to whatever else is out there. Now, that's a great starting point, because once you start learning to open up your mindset, then you don't feel limited. But with that as well, what happens is you start becoming fearless when it comes to failure. I know sometimes as people, we frown on failure. We don't want to fail. We want to be perfect in everything we do. We want to succeed. But I'll tell you that in some of my failures, that's where the strength has come through to do more. That's where my tenacity has come through. That's where persistence has come through. And that's what helps you climb that corporate ladder as you go along, because no one can take that away from you. You can get into situations where people tell you you can't do this because of A, B, C, D, E. But if you believe in yourself, if you're willing to learn, if you're willing to surround yourself with the right kind of people who will encourage but challenge you at the same time, then I feel that starts fueling that movement and momentum that you will see from time to time. Now, from the travels that I've had, some of the things that have stood out is just learning about people. Personally, I am an introvert, so I would, typically be comfortable to be in my own space, not to be out there, not to be talking a lot or engaging with a lot of people, right? Because that's just what I'm comfortable with. But one thing that I picked up is just because I'm an introvert, it doesn't mean that I can't succeed, right? There's a misperception, I think, out there that if you're introverted, then you can't do a bigger job. You can't lead a bigger team. And I'd like to tell you that that's not true. That's not entirely true. You can do it. It is up to you. What do you stand for? Do I have to pull on the extrovert side of things in a leadership role? Yes, I do. But that's part of learning, right? And that's part about bringing in people into spaces and working through others. I've learned to embrace, different types of people, different cultures, different abilities. And I find that when you do that, that helps you grow, right? So it makes me look good. Just because I am wired a certain way, just because maybe I have a technology background, it doesn't mean that I will just associate with people like that. I interact with all sorts of people. Some of my colleagues on this call do different things, but we find a way of aligning together as a team. So people, you have to learn to live with people. You have to learn to accept the challenges that come with people. You have to learn how to navigate through difficult situations. And I personally have. As an African moving to a European city, for example, I can tell you that sometimes you walk into a room and people think, yeah, what could you possibly know? What can you tell me about Africa when I come from the West? I know the times are changing, it's different now, but we all have our own unique experiences. And with that, we have a voice which we can use to change those circumstances that we're in. I think it's once you start using that voice that it starts becoming a little bit more powerful and it starts propelling you as well to move forward. So if I was to give any advice, I'd say, you can't work in isolation. You have to be centered around people, use people as your anchor, learn about people, embrace their differences. Don't walk away just because you had a disagreement. Find a way to come together. And one of the things that I learned, which I still find funny even today, but someone once said to me, if you want to deal with difficult people, do it over a meal, right? So that's a trick I do today. If I know that I need to diffuse a situation, do it over a meal. And it could be, it could be two people from different cultures, different backgrounds, different experiences. But just sitting across each other and sharing a meal, you'd be amazed at how that breaks down, the silos that we put ourselves, and you start connecting with people. And it's that connection that you need, either now as a university student or later as you go through your career. Some of the roles that I have found or that I have signed up for in my time sometimes were because someone thought of me when they saw a role, right? So they've worked with me before, they've seen a particular role, they know my work ethic, they know I will deliver. So when they see that opportunity, they give me a call, right? And say, Makabelo, is this something you'd be interested in? And obviously, if it's an interesting enough role, I would take it on. So build your connections, even at a university level. Don't take them for granted. And don't look at your peers only, your lecturers, right? Your professors that you work with today. Build those connections, sustain them. There's a lot you can learn from them, and there's a lot that they can equally learn from you. So it's a two-way road. Just because someone is, senior to you, it doesn't mean that they still can't learn. I'm still learning today. I'm learning from my teams. And it's that mindset, again, that I don't know it all. I will depend on others. I will surround myself with people who might know better to do better. And lastly, maybe one key thing I learned as well is you have to get comfortable with the uncomfortable, right? And the uncomfortable comes in different ways. It could be you being different. So it could be you walking into a meeting room and realizing that you're the only woman. Or it could be you walking into a room and realizing that you're the only person of a different color or race, right? Or you're the only different person from a different culture or different nationality, etc. Get comfortable with that, right? Get comfortable with criticism, right? Don't look at criticism as something that holds you back. Embrace that. Dig deeper when someone criticizes you. Find out where's that coming from, right? Most of the time, it will either be an issue of having just pure differences in thoughts and backgrounds, but sometimes it could be something that can help you in your career. So take in those experiences, good or bad. You will learn from them. They strengthen you. They make you the person you are. And I can tell you that as someone who hires people today, when I hire people, I do look forward to hiring people who will challenge me. So not yes people. I look forward to people that are very different from me, that think really differently from how I think, because I believe that they will bring value to the organization. So as you go through your journey, just think about that diversity in thought, the inclusion, and it cuts to people with disabilities as well, which Stephen talked about earlier. You know, you'd be amazed at what these people bring to the table. And the experience that can enrich you. So Val, allow me to leave it at that and see if there'll be any other questions that come up around my experiences, but those would be my things. It starts up here. It's in your mind, right? Don't limit yourself. Don't think less of yourself. You can do it.
Great, thank you, Makabela. Actually, I was going to mention the disability aspect. You've mentioned differences so much and what these differences mean when it comes to the workplace and how these differences actually add value at the workplace. And I completely agree with you. Thank you. And students, please leave your questions for Makabelo in the chat and she would respond to you. Quickly going on to our next speaker for today, Dr. Davidson Mwaisaka. Dr. Davidson is the head of legal in Kenya and East Africa. And one fact that I want to mention about Dr. Davidson is the amount of studying he did. Daktari, wow, you have so many feathers on your cap. He did his bachelor's in law, which he completed with first class honors. He also did his master's in law from New York University. He did his MBA from Daystar, and he also did his doctor's in business administration from USIU-Africa. So with all these certificates that you've earned, that all these learning that you did, what inspires you and motivates you the most? Why did you study so much? And today, now that you're working after all of your studies, what is it that drives you to go to work? And what is it that has driven you to go study further at every stage?
Thanks, Val. Happy to join the call, and good afternoon, everyone. Good evening. Yeah, I think I should start by saying that we all have 24 hours. Yeah, be it young, small, be it guys in school, guys who've just graduated, us in the workplace, etc. We all have 24 hours. 8 hours, I think it's constant for all of us, as recommended by our health experts for sleep. Yeah, we have 8 hours to work, and we remain with 8 other solid hours. I think this is the 8 hours that really is the part of the conversation today. What do we usually do with those 8 hours? So socializing, I think, very important. We are human beings. We should be able to interact with family, friends, etc. Yeah, interactions with family, for those married, for those with young ones, etc. Exercise and keeping fit, I think, is something that is also encouraged for all of us. That comes in within the 8 hours. The other aspect is really maybe commuting, moving from one place to another, maybe communication, etc. So with these 8 hours, I think it's critical for all of us to ask ourselves, what do we do with it? Yeah, 8 hours in a week, that's 56 hours. That's 56 hours. 8 hours in 1 month, that's 240 hours. 8 hours every day for a full year, that's 2,880 hours. So the question is this: what if we could set aside maybe just 2 hours a day, or maybe 1 hour a day, so that we can be able to develop ourselves, make ourselves better from an intellectual point of view, from how we will improve ourselves from a technical point of view, from a soft skills point of view, from a social skills point of view. How can we go out there, get that knowledge, get that information so that we can better ourselves? So let's assume somebody sets aside 2 hours every day, yeah? In a week, or let's say even 5 days a week, that's 10 hours. In a month, that's 60 hours. In a year, that's 720 hours. Ask yourself, what if you invest in yourself out of the other things that you can use or invest within the 8 hours? The social life, the exercising and keeping fit, communication, moving from one place to another, having fun and enjoying. There are several paths that you can learn so that you can be able to make yourself a better person from an education point of view. There is the first and obvious one, the degree point of view, having a higher degree. So we have friends here in the university, and in future, somebody can consider, why can't I do a postgraduate degree? Why can't I do a doctorate degree? Yeah. We have professional courses out there. That's also another path that somebody can choose. Why can't I do, for example, a CPAK? Why can't I be a CSK? Why can't I do ISIFA? Yeah. Why can't I specialize in procurement and do the procurement courses? Why can't I specialize and become a HR expert by undertaking and specializing and doing professional courses in the HR space? IT courses, very many of them that one can delve into so that they can make themselves better. We also have soft skills, and I think in the workplace, it becomes very important. How good are you at your soft skills? Yes, the hard skills are good. Yes, you are an accountant, you're an auditor, you're a HR specialist, you're a credit specialist, but there are soft skills that will be a plus for all of us. By soft skills, what do I mean? So, for example, communication skills come in very handy in the corporate world, in a corporate setting. How do you communicate? Yeah. Problem-solving skills. That's another very key soft skill that comes in. The ability to work under pressure, yeah. Time management, as I was saying, you have 24 hours in a day, 8 to sleep, 8 to work. What do you do with your other 8 hours? That's also a very crucial aspect that comes in. Flexibility. Do you have a fixed mind? Can you think out of the box? Can you accommodate others? Can you work with others? Yeah. Negotiation and conflict resolution skills also come in very, very handy. Leadership skills, teamwork skills, yeah, self-motivation, etc. Now, these are skills that are packaged in different courses, in different seminars. Now, with technology, there are webinars, etc. Yeah, can you use that 1 hour a day, 2 hours a day, so that you can sharpen those skills? That's another pathway that can be used. The other skill that one can do in terms of learning so as to differentiate themselves and make themselves better are social skills, yeah, in terms of relationships. We have varied courses out there. Just how do you interact, maybe with the opposite sex, maybe with colleagues in the office? How do you interact in a family setting? How do you interact with your finances? Yeah, these are very critical social skills that one can use to develop themselves and make themselves better. So having understood one, we have the 24 hours. There are various paths in which we can be able to take ourselves to the next level in terms of learning, in terms of empowering ourselves, in terms of bettering ourselves. What then would be the motivation for all this? Yeah, and what will you, as colleagues or the young ones that encompass getting out in the workspace, what will be the benefits of all this? I think in the African setting, they say, I am because we are, yeah, Ubuntu. And by us building the connections, by us building the networks out there, it becomes very crucial, more so, for example, in the workspace, to take us to the next level. Now, with all the pathways that we've discussed, be it degrees, be it the different professional courses, the skills courses, you'll always go into those settings, you'll always meet different persons, yeah, at different levels in their careers, yeah, at different professional expertise, etc. One way of delving into bettering yourselves and taking yourselves to the next level is the networking and the opportunity to connect with people in the different fields. So, for example, you're in an MBA class, you find yourselves with persons from different lines, different careers, people at different levels in their career aspirations and really as they go up the ladder, etc. And the contacts that you will build in such settings are very important, and one that can catapult you to the next level. I think in the workplace now, as it is, it's always very crucial to differentiate yourself and to stand out of the crowd. So, for example, from statistics, they say 40% of the workplace have a bachelor or an equivalent or some professional course. 11% have their postgraduate degree. So I think by you going out there, exerting yourself, using that 1 hour or 2 hours a day, it will, in the long term, be able to differentiate yourself, and you'll be able to stand out of the crowd. When you look at the number of students now getting out of campus, really, it's in the thousands. Yeah. So as Makabelo was saying, it's really, what do you want? Where do you want to go? What will you want to be? It's all about the mindset. Yeah. Can I use that extra 1 hour or 2 hours so that I can be able to differentiate myself and be able to solidify and strengthen the skills that you've got? I think another aspect and the beauty of immersing yourself and really investing that 1 hour or 2 hours, at the end of the day, it should be able to take you to the next level of contributing knowledge. So you, in the undergrad, really, you spend more time in understanding the existing knowledge in your field. But how can you take it to the next level by you contributing and becoming an expert in that area and really taking yourself to the next level career-wise? Also, by that, there's the sense of personal accomplishment. Really, you will be proud of yourself. Yeah, just like bodybuilders, for example. Yeah, it takes time to build that muscle, to get that physique. It takes time, and I think it's the same way by you investing in yourself through learning, through education, through bettering yourself and taking yourself to the next level. It brings that self of personal accomplishment and pride. And they say, really, at the end of the day, no one can take your education out of you. No one can steal your professional cause. No one can steal that extra development that you've done to yourself education-wise. So that soft skill will come in handy a long way so as to take you to the next career level, to the next step, and really make you a better person at the end of the day. So thanks, Val. Those are my thoughts to the question, and we'll be happy to engage with the team further. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Ari. Those were great insights, and I love the fact that you said going to university is investing in yourself. And you're not doing a favor to your parents, you're not doing a favor to your employer by getting another degree. You're working on yourself to do better. Thank you very much for that. And students, you know what kind of questions to ask Dr. Ari right now. Going on to the next panelist for today, I would love to introduce David Mwindi, who is head of audit for Kenya and East Africa region. David has worked in prestigious institutions like Barclays, KPMG, PwC, Strathmore, and he is a certified public accountant and also an internal auditor. This question is specifically for you, Mr. David. Accounting is considered one of the very traditional subjects, and CPAs, I've seen people with big glasses and big books. So now things have been changing. You are not dusting off papers anymore. You're not working with physical files and folders anymore. And you're now going into tech. What is your experience with the transition from the traditional to the digital world, and what do you do to keep up with the change that you're seeing every day?
Thanks, Val, and good evening, good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here, and just listening to Makabelo and Davidson, very enlightening. I think the journey of learning continues for all of us. So just before I answer your question, just to give some background, I kind of actually got into accounting, auditing by mistake, if I may put it that way. I actually started off pursuing a career in medicine, and at some point I had a couple of mentors who thought that I could make more money by being an accountant and becoming a consultant. So I listened to my mentors, and the jury is still out as to whether that was the right decision or not. But I think what the message I'm trying to pass across is, especially if I reflect at the point when I left university about 16, 17 years ago. It's at that point where, fine, you've studied something, but you really don't know how your career will pan out. And what I've seen from my personal experience, and I've having worked with many organizations, is that at the end of the day, the world gives you very many opportunities. And it's upon you to ask yourself, what do you have passion for? Because if you look at the most successful people in the world, they've tended to do things that they enjoy on a day-to-day basis. So fine, education is important. University education, post-university, postgraduate education is important. But at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, what do you have passion for? What is it that will make you excited when you wake up in the morning to go and do? And that, coupled with the fact that in this journey, when you're still very young in your career and sometimes not very clear as to what you want to do, it's very important to have a couple of mentors that will guide you along the way. And as Makabelo said, it could be your university lecturers. As Davidson said, it could be people that you meet in class. So start building your networks, and that's very, very important. Because when I reflect back, a lot of the opportunities that I've had, it's through some of the mentors that I've had. Now, mentorship works in both ways, in terms of you have to reach out, and in some cases, just because you're doing the right things and you're standing out in terms of how you approach your life and your career, there are certain people that will approach you, and that's important for you to take those opportunities. Because if I look at what I've experienced in the last 17 years compared to where I started, I think I have a lot of information that can help somebody grow. So I'm just using myself as an example to say, there's so much you can gain by having a mentor and having networks that will guide you along the way, because you'll be forced to make a lot of decisions along your career, and in a lot of them you don't have the information that you require to make an informed decision. So the value of mentorship is very, very important. So just back to accounting and auditing and what I've been doing with myself. I think one of the things that is very important is to realize when you study CPA accounting, whatever it is, it's just giving you a foundation for you to enter into the world, which then teaches you a lot of things. So one of the things that I've obviously experienced along the way is the fact that from having the basic accounting information and some of the jobs that you then get to do within organizations, then you get to learn a lot. So if I take, for example, what I do at Standard Chartered Bank, I'm forced to learn about what's happening in every field within the organization, whether it's from our retail banking or our corporate banking, or whether it's from a financial markets perspective. So you're forced to keep on learning. And by learning, I don't mean just basically going back to classrooms and learning, but basically experiencing things and working together with teams to understand what are the implications of those. So as an accountant, I think that's just a basic skill that helps you to just secure a job. But then your journey for learning starts from there, regardless of whether you decide to specialize in consulting, either internal audit or from basic finance work. I think it becomes very important for you to keep on updating yourself with what's happening within the organization. And as David had said, you've got 8 hours that you need to decide what you want to do with them. And a lot of that is where you distinguish yourself from the others. I remember when I joined KPMG as my first major employer, we joined 8 of us. And we're joining as internal audit assistants. And surprisingly, 8 of us came from different backgrounds. When I say different backgrounds, I mean we had people that had studied technology, economics, doctors, whatever, name it. And I remember the first conversation we had with our hiring managers then was that you've joined 8 of us, you've joined 8 of you today, but in another 3 years, all of you will be very different. I mean, look at life, that has actually happened. And the distinction has been how much clarity did each of us get along the way in terms of what you wanted to pursue. It also depended on how much investment that you made in yourself. So back to the 8 hours Davidson was talking about, I think that's absolutely important. And you know, when you start working, sometimes you start earning some good money, and you start forgetting to reinvest in yourself. So that's one of the lessons when I look back that I would actually encourage everyone. First, ask yourself, what exactly do you want to be 10 years from now, and start building your guardrails around how do I attain that. Because you realize 10 years will pass very quickly, and after 10 years, you might not have much to show for it in terms of what you've attained since you left campus or university. So you need to be very deliberate in terms of what you do. I think it's in the first early years before you get too many commitments in life, the opportunities for you to really accelerate investments in yourself. And it's not just education. Davidson talked about soft skills, which are very important. And I think the opportunities or the advantages you people have is the fact that technology enables you to study practically anything from your house or from the comfort of your office. So take those opportunities to upskill yourself, look around what excites you, because as I said, I think you stand a better chance of succeeding if you focus on things that you enjoy doing. And I think my last comment, which is something that I think I've learned in life, is you need to have a personal brand. And a personal brand is what you stand for. What is it that you want to be known for? Is it being very diligent in what you do? Is it being knowledgeable? Is it a combination of everything? So how you package yourself is very, very important. The world is very competitive. Very many people are leaving the university every year. So there must be something that will distinguish you, and the opportunities are not growing as fast as would like to, and especially in this part of the world. So you must have a personal brand. There must be something that you are known for, something that you stand out in. So you need to reflect on some of those things and really focus on them. So yeah, I mean, learning is every day. You have to keep on learning. If you think about it, the world has given you the opportunities from the technology tools that are available. So as you think about your 8 hours that are available to you, don't spend all of them on Facebook and social media, just surfing around, but try and invest in some of the things that will make your career grow. Upskill yourself, look at things that you probably did not have opportunities to study, or you didn't have the resources then to support yourself, and try and invest yourself in those things. But at the end of the day, ask yourself, do you have passion for what you're doing? Do you know what you want to achieve in a number of years? Do you have people around you to support you and guide you? Because you will need those at different stages of your life when you're making decisions. So I'll stop there. Happy, obviously, to look at some of the questions that will come through. Thank you.
Thank you, David. I would like to reiterate one point that you've mentioned, that is, technology is your best friend and not your enemy. I remember one of the career talks we did before, students mentioned that technology is taking over all the jobs, and do you think we'll have enough jobs in the future? Well, use technology to be one among those guys who get the jobs. So thank you for reiterating that point again to all of our students. Guys, please give in all your questions in the chat. I love the conversations that you're having with Macabello. Keep those questions coming in as I introduce the next guest in our panel, who is Mr. Evans Munyori. Munyori should be your best friend, everyone. He has been working in HR for the past so many years. So if you want to know any secrets on getting employed, you should be his best friend. Munyori, you've already spoken to us before. This time I would want to ask you a different question a little bit. Have you always studied HR from university, or did you switch your fields sometime during the whole course of your career? If you did, why did you switch, and what advice would you give students who have taken a certain subject in the university and now they have second thoughts about, is that the career for me? So what is your advice for students who are going through that?
Thank you, Val, and I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
You can?
Yes.
Wonderful. And it's good to be back on this platform. Good to see you guys again. It's lovely. Munyori is my name and I work in HR. It's been an absolute pleasure being in HR. I deal with two simple things. They're not as simple as I make them sound, but they are: people and culture. So that's really my job. And I will just first speak from a conversation that David has just talked about, that they joined an organization, 7 or 8 of them from different fields. And many years later, as one of their managers had predicted, they were very different. One of the things that, to your question, Val, is if you look at me, everybody thinks I must have studied HR. I have studied HR by doing, largely, but I also had to go back to class because there is a requirement now for us to be certified. But I am actually, my campus education was in accounting. And I also went and did what Davidson was calling CPAs, all the way to Section 6. And I was geared towards a journey in accounting. I was dreaming and thinking accounting since around when I was in Form 2, all the way then into campus, several years. I was so clear in my mind that the one thing I needed to be was an accountant. When I reflect and I look back, I think I would have made an awful accountant, as you can see. I don't look like David. I am less serious. And I highly suspect that at some point accounting would not have been the thing for me. That, as it may be, I enjoy the world of accounting from curiosity perspective. But today I work in HR, and the many years that you've talked about, wow. What made me switch? First of all, I think there's also a huge perspective around listening to people and letting people also direct you when you're young. So first of all, kudos for being here. this is one of the things that I also tell people in Standard Chartered. The number one thing that will differentiate many of us is intellectual curiosity. When people start saying, I want to know, can I learn? You ask questions, that's how you also develop. And that's it. I got an opportunity, an individual looked at me and said, I think you can do HR. And I said, sure, why not? And many years later, here I am still in HR. I have had to upgrade what I know. I have had to go back to class. And I think listening to my colleagues speak to you, it really, that's the gist of it, is there is nobody who is static. You've got to keep asking yourself, what's hot on the plate for today for me to take it up? Now, a bit of history. I think most of our parents and those who've gone before us, when they were in our Kenyan campuses, and those days we had more of public universities than we had private, there was a course called BA Arts, and it was huge. If you listen to old time people who went to the universities in the 60s and early 70s, they will talk to you about BA Arts. And it was so marketable that some people were never even done with campus. By the time you are in second year, you already have a job offer with you. And then we came into another dispensation, and possibly that stretched a bit, and we talked about some of the technical skills, one of them being medicine, accounting was there, engineering also quite huge. And now we've gotten into something else. And what I'm trying to drive at is the sensitivity to the dispensation that you are in. So when you're talking to people about what they have done, when you're talking to people about what they would want to do, the number one thing for me is please invest in intellectual curiosity to understand the dispensation that you're in. So we've now shifted, and what you guys are finding yourselves into is the description we've had here today, that more jobs are tech-based, more jobs are quite agile. There is an opportunity for us to rethink the old model of the work that we used to do, including mine. And in shape and form, possibly all of us who've talked to you, that what we used to do materially in the next 2 or 3 years either will have changed or will accelerate in the change and in the manner that is presented. It's not all gloomy. And that's not the conversation I'm driving at. I'm driving at the conversation that there is a lot of opportunities that are being created by the digital movement and technology movement that we are seeing. And the question is, are you intellectually curious to keep tabs with what is happening? I think that for me is the basis of a conversation today. And I usually tell young people, those who are joining us and like yourselves, and I keep telling people, listen, there is also a lot of wisdom with people who have gone ahead of you. I have seen very good questions. People are asking, how do you know how to map your journey? And I can tell you, it's not always obvious. If you start well and you still end up being what you really desired and were passionate about, well done, that's okay. But there is also a lot of trials and experiments in life. And there are things that you also need somebody to hold your hand. So that aspect of coaching and mentorship, listening to people who have gone before you is really important, because they start shaping your thought process on how to get ready. What are some of the things today that I hold dear? When I think about what I went to do in school, that was important. Today, if I got an opportunity to go back and learn accounting, I'll still do that. However, there are other core things that I know you are also getting from school that I was taught in school, and that is largely in the area of the soft skills, how to relate with people, how to communicate as well, how to be agile enough. And the one more that has really crept in now that we really have to prepare is to how to deal with change. It's going to be the only thing that we will see going forward. A lot of things will change. There are many things that we cannot even guarantee in 2 years' time what it will look like. I mean, look at what the pandemic has done. Now we can sit here in a conversation, 130 plus of us, and have a conversation. A couple of years back, we had to look for huge halls for us to sit and have the same conversation. My charge to you is this, ladies and gentlemen, that you've got to work on the soft skills more. And I think much of it might not even be hard taught. There is no class that somebody will tell you, please join Agile 101. And in this class, we are going to teach you how to be agile. You will learn by listening, by doing. And I think those are the courses and the important things in life for me that now matter. That the minute you apply intellectual curiosity, the minute you're able to listen out to individuals tell you directionally what's happening, then you're now attuned, and you're, as we say in Kenya, you are catching the right wavelength. You are tuned to then going into the world and facing it. Please keep working on your intellectual curiosity, and I commend you for being here, because that for me is part of that journey. Thank you, Val.
Thank you, Munyori. We can, I think, listen to you the whole day. Thank you for all the stories. I think you tie back really well to David's point of keeping up with latest trends, be continuously learning, be agile. Join Agile 101 should be the caption of most of our startups right now. So thank you so much for that brief remarks. I would like to now introduce my next panelist, David Adepojo. He has 18 years of experience, and he has, David, you've worked across Africa, across Middle East, and in the UK, and you've also one of us who have traveled a lot more than most of us, I think. So my question is again based on travels. You have traveled to different places. You must have coped with different organizations, different cultures, and different people. What helped you adjust and cope through these differences? What is it that you have done so that you can adjust and thrive in these different situations?
Okay, no, thank you. And okay, you know, when I got the questions, I struggled. I was like, how am I going to answer this? How am I going to talk about this? And the reason I struggled is it's probably not until 1 year ago that I started really thinking about how to deal with difficulty. The truth is, personally in my career, I've never had problems. I've had I don't know how to explain it. For example, I've never asked for a promotion. I've just always been promoted. One of the things that happened when I started my career was a boss of mine told me that, David, don't look for money, right? Just try and be good at what you do. Then money will run after you. To be honest, when he said it, I just listened to him. And the reason I listened to him is that there was nothing I was going to do to get me more money, right? So I had no alternative but to just try and do what I knew, just try and do what was in front of me. And I think through my career, I've always just been promoted. People just come and say, okay, David, you're going to do that job. David, you're going to do that job. And to be honest, it confused me a lot. It used to confuse me a lot. I just did not understand why. A number of times I'll get promoted and I'll be asking myself, why are you promoting me? What did I do? You know, so real confusion. But I think last year I moved to Nairobi, right? And it's probably been the first time I've really reflected on, you know, what's going on with myself, really reflected. And it's the first time when I've really started trying to deal with difficulty, right? Because I've never had a difficult period in my career, never. And I think, take for example, Macabello helped me. And I think this is what I really want to talk about. So because I've been so successful with so much ease for so many years, right? There's an outlook I had on life. So coming to a place where it was difficult for me, nobody knew me, I didn't have a reputation, I had no credentials, right? And it was difficult, right? It was very difficult. But I spoke to Macabello about it, and Macabello told me something. She said, if you're having a difficult time at work or in life, you have to find something else to balance it out, right? So she told me I can go to a park, I can spend more time with my children. She told me I could travel, just do something to balance it out in life. And she told me that about 6 months ago, and I've started, and it's been very, very helpful, right? But I want to give you the most important point I took from it. I've been working for how many years? And to some extent, I thought I knew what I was doing because I was succeeding. But when Macabello told me what she told me, I actually applied it and it worked. Something clicked. What clicked? I actually don't know that much, right? What Macabello said was wisdom. Imagine I knew that 5 years ago. If I came into a difficult period, I would know what to do. So what that has done for me, more than anything, has birthed a quest for wisdom. And where do you get wisdom? You get wisdom from people that have gone ahead of you, from everybody. So if you take today, let me just show this to you today. So you probably can't see my notebook, but I'll tell you what I've written. Okay, so everything Macabello said, I've written it down. Everything Davidson said, I've written it down. Everything Wendy said, I've written it down. Everything Munyori said, I've written it down. Why am I writing it down? I've assumed they know better than me. I'm assuming that there's something that they've done to get to where they've gotten to that I do not know, and therefore I want to learn from them. You know, where I come from, there's a parable that when you get into a room, if you're invited into a room, you go to the back of the room, you don't go to the front. And it's really just a mindset of you don't know everything, and taking it to the next step of just be quiet and listen to others. I think my main point I really want to talk about today is if there's something I wish I knew 20 years ago, it was more than anything, look for wisdom, look for wise people and learn from them. There's a reason they have gray hair. There's a reason they are where they are. And if you can learn from them early enough in life, then you'll be able to handle a lot of problems. Rather, let me not put it that way. You will avoid a lot of problems and you'll be able to live a more fulfilling life. I think I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, David. I love how you have given us a story that's very realistic and not all rainbows and butterflies, because at some point you would feel low in life, you would need support. And I love the fact that your colleagues and your peers have, you're able to talk about those things with your colleagues and peers. Thank you for sharing that story. And I love the fact that you've also mentioned, again, continuous learning, keeping a journal, making sure you have a mindset that you can learn from everyone, no matter who that is. There's always something to learn. Without further ado, I would like to introduce our next panelist. She has been the woman who helped put all of this together. She is the head of sustainability and community engagement for Kenya, Africa, and Middle East, Regina Mukiri. I have a question for you specifically because this is your job and your role, as I understand it. What is your stand in terms of diversity and inclusion, in terms of both gender and disability? And what value do you see that people with disabilities or diverse people can add to a particular workplace or an organization?
Thank you, everybody, thank you for this.
Your voice is a little bit low, Regina.
I hope that is better.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, thank you so much for the moment and for all those who have dialed in and our panelists who have shared such good insights around career, around how you can develop yourself. I think the question you've asked me, Val, is very fundamental, and it is one of the reasons why actually we are here, mainly based on the fact that this project around employability comes from the bank's perspective of social inclusion. something that we take to be one of the fundamental pillars of what we do to become a sustainable employer. And for us, diversity, first of all, means being able to bring together diverse people, literally, people who are different in terms of their experience, people who are different in terms of their color, their race, their backgrounds. Standard Chartered, being a universal, an international bank, is present in 59 countries. That means that we employ over 89,000 people, and we have over 125,000 nationalities. And I think the people who've spoken here are just a good sample of people who come from different countries, different gender, different orientations. So it just shows how diverse we are. So diversity brings in the aspect of the different aspects that make us, each of us, authentic, each of us a contributor, each of us coming as unique as we are. When you look at inclusion, it's about making this where we work or the environments we live in a more comfortable, a safe place where somebody who is different can express their opinion, can have a reason to be. And that is exactly what we do in the bank, both from a workforce, and Munyori would be the best person to talk about how we are including all our staff. But let me focus a little bit more on how we are including society and communities. Programs, like I've said, like EmployAble, I think when we started with Steve, he mentioned that we work a lot with people living with disability. Programs like Goal, which focuses on empowering young girls, it's based on the understanding that women are marginalized, young people are marginalized. So how do we help them build their skills and become more included in the economy and in the society? So in a nutshell, the agenda of diversity and inclusion becomes a big agenda for the bank, both for our clients and for our community. And we focus on about 4 pillars, one of which is what you have mentioned, gender. The other one is disability. We have nationalities, and we have generations. So meaning that we try to see, how do we bring all these people together? How do we learn from each other? And I think one of the key themes that have been going around this evening is about growth, is about your mindset, is about being an expert in everything, not being an expert in everything you do, but opening your mind to learn more. So in terms of diversity, it means that you are able to collaborate more, you are able to learn more. It is our pillar for getting more innovative. And this is something we carry further. And statistics, even within the bank, show us that we have targets that help us meet that. And one of those targets is on gender, and bringing in about 30% of some women workforce in the workforce. And I must say, even for the ladies who are in this call, that we see a lot of ladies coming in at the entry level, in fact, doing much better than the men. But as they climb through the levels of their career, they tend to go a bit lower, and we keep on dropping on the statistics. But I'm glad to say that in Standard Chartered, there's been very concerted efforts on building a network or a workforce and a leadership that has women, where women are big contributors. For example, we have Makabelo here, and I'll soon be calling on one of our other leaders, Edith, who heads one of the businesses, just to say how is her experience, because I might be saying things, and the proof is actually in the pudding, as they say. The proof of the pudding is in the eating. So when you look at it from that angle, what then is the call, or why is it important to be diverse? And why is it important that we include everybody? Is because we all bring something different. But for you, from where you sit, I think the most important thing to realize is that it's not just about diversity and inclusion, it's also about merit. Do you earn through merit? Because there's so much you can do about saying that you are, yes, woman, or you are living with different abilities, but are you actually qualified? Have you built your skills? But for those people who feel that they're marginalized and who are, who, for example, if you're living with different abilities, what is working for you and how do you enhance that? Many employers now are coming up and looking for programs like even in the community to help people build those soft skills. And that's one of the things that makes me amazed is when you look at the capabilities that come with community programs like what we are doing with Light for the World. And hence the challenge then is, how do you take advantage of that? How do you open up that space for yourself so that then you are not in the song of we are marginalized, but we are being included? What do you bring on board for yourself? I think before I came for this call, we were doing employee volunteering, pretty much this, and we were recording books for visually impaired people. And it was an interesting place to be as a proof of, do we actually believe in what we say? Do we actually do extra to make sure that we are including that society? And I think I'm very proud of Standard Chartered Bank from the angle of diversity and inclusion and the activities we are doing there. And I would like that pride to also develop into each partner who we work with, and also people like you who are listening to us, to carry this through, to remember that everybody is unique. And we may have pillars, but in a way, you all come in different flavors, and everybody has a space in this world. The question is, how do you find your space? How do you bring your uniqueness and your capabilities, your different experiences, and add value to where you are? So I think I can go on this for a long, long time, but I hope, Val, that kind of answers my the question you've asked me, and also to say that as we discuss this, and as we continue to say a little bit more about diversity and inclusion, you'll see more, even with the programs we do, even going to next year. And we are hoping to attract more and more people, especially people who are living with different abilities, to come on board. For 15 years, we did Seeing is Believing, which was about eyesight. And that was a very successful program for the bank, where we were helping to prevent avoidable blindness. Now we are more on developing skills, especially for talented people, for people who are intellectually capable and who are working very hard in terms of the academics, to see that we open that space for them. So my ask would be for you to join us more and to listen out to people like Val when they call you, and to see how you can learn and get more included in the kind of projects that you are working on. Back to you, Val.
Thank you. Tina, do you have any other colleagues probably who would want to address or on this topic? Anybody else you would want to invite currently?
Not at the moment. She stepped out a bit.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Regina. I think I can see even in the chat that people agree to what you say is the importance of having people with different backgrounds and different capabilities and different things that they provide to an organization, be it gender, be it disability, be it different culture, race, and everything else. So our final panelist for today is Ms. Joyce Kibay, and I don't think I can take enough time to introduce you, Joyce, because you are such a multi-talented person. You have been in marketing, you've been in consumer insights, innovation, strategic planning, and you've also won so many awards for the work that you've done. I think you're the best person to wrap up this whole conversation, which is all about dare to dream. So there are so many students here with us who are daring to dream today, and what is your advice to them?
Thank you so much, Val. I think let me start first by telling a story. After I finished my 4th year in uni, I went for an interview at PwC, and the partner was like, Joyce, you have the gift of the gab. I'm not going to hire you as an auditor. I suggest you change your CV and get into the marketing space. I was like, why? I mean, I want to be an accountant. And he was like, no, you have the gift of the gab. So I went and studied, stuff about marketing. I said, maybe, okay, it was easy in campus. That's why I didn't want to do it. We thought accounting guys were the hardcore people. Needless to say, I applied for a marketing job as a graduate trainee, and I got it. And the rest is history. I've been doing marketing for very many years and really happy with myself. Now, the key message I wanted to tell everyone here is I listened, and it's key. I keep on reinventing myself every time, just readjusting and reiterating. So what are some of the things that I believe in that can make anyone successful, be able to dare to dream, and also be ready for their future workplace? I think it's one, accept things like reverse mentoring. It's worked very well for me. The things, let's say, for example, Binance. that's on crypto. I follow that religiously, and I learned that from young people like yourselves, as well as my son who's only 13 years old. Disney, for example, Netflix, all those are really cool channels I like. I do participate in them. And one of the things I keep on challenging, my reverse mentors is, okay, how about investing in stocks so that you can be rich instead of making these people all rich at the same time? So those are some of the few ideas that I have. Things that I have also seen are really cool. Let's say right now at Standard Chartered Bank, digital is big. I studied that because I saw if I'm not ready for digital, then digital will come and replace me in the career space. So that's really key. Sustainability, everyone is talking about sustainability, green spaces, climate change, green products. That's something that now I have studied, I'm studying at work, I'm doing it in the workplace, and will continue doing that. Cybersecurity, if anyone, I'll tell you, without any doubt, you want to protect all your wealth, everything that you have, your data, we are all tech savvy. Is it secure? Learn about cybersecurity. So I want to leave you with two things. One is grit, and this goes to what Evans was talking about, agility. So grit is so key in every aspect of my life, and how I take grit is as follows. The G for grit stands for give it your all at all times. Do not cut shortcuts. The R is redo if necessary. Don't be afraid. If you fail, just redo it if necessary. The I is ignore. Don't quit. Just ignore. Just do it again. Ignore the urge to quit. Don't quit at all. And then the T is take the time and do it right. Just be patient and you'll do it right. So that's what I believe in. Grit, it's all about agility. It's all about being resilient. Then lastly, the 5 points is, and I mentioned one of them at the beginning, is listen, listen, listen. Second, be vulnerable. Be ready to listen to feedback, accept feedback. Also share your experiences. Be resilient. That's, needless to say, we're going through the pandemic. It's still not over, but just being resilient. Then look at me. I'm happy and I continue to be happy. You have to be purposeful to be happy at all times. Then lastly, your health is your wealth. We have to take care of ourselves. I know people, we may not talk about our challenges. I'm stressed, I'm anxious about it. But remember, your health is your wealth. So please take care of yourselves. Talk to someone, confide to somebody, be vulnerable, because only if you do is when you'll be able to overcome these challenges and succeed. Thanks very much. Back to you, Val.
Thank you, Joyce. That was very crisp and clear, and I'm glad I was able to capture some of your crisp instructions to our students. Before I wrap up this wonderful discussion, I am very sad to do it, but we all have lives to go on with. But I would like to give everybody the opportunity to continue the conversation. I hope you all can see my screen. This is how I think we can continue the conversation. Log on to enableme.ke. You will find a space for community. I have already created a thread for you all. Sorry, just give me 1 second. Yes, I have already created a thread for today's discussion. So please click on the link that is going to be posted in the chat right now and create your account on Enable Me and continue the conversations over there. So panelists, you know where the questions are going to be. Please log on to enableme.ke, go to the community or click on the link that is sent in the chat, and please take these discussions forward. Thank you. With that, let me say thanks to all of the people who have made this possible, starting with the wonderful panelists, starting with Macabello, Dr. Davidson, David Mwindi, Evans Munyori, David Adepojo, Regina, and Joyce. Special thanks to Regina Mukiri. She has coordinated with us day and night, and within a very short time, she made all of this possible. Thank you very much, Regina, and other Standard Chartered staff who have taken their time out to attend this call. Secondly, thank you to all the students who have taken time out to participate here. I hope you have learned something. Please continue the discussions. Please keep that fire burning, and please be working towards being future ready. And finally, Light for the World team, thank you, Steve, Sylvia, Jane, for helping us put all of this together. And I hope all of you have a good evening. And please, again, continue the conversations as we say goodbye.
Thank you, Val.
Bye. Bye. Thanks.
Thank you, Val. Thank you so much. Thanks, Regina. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, colleagues.